Hello, everyone. Now you will hear a short retelling of the movie Like Mike. Enjoy watching. At the shelter, three friends were playing and throwing a ball into a basket until they were accosted by bullies led by Ox. Kelvin agreed to play against the big guy for his t-shirt and, alas, lost, and the scoundrel tore it to shreds after putting it on himself. The orphanage director forces the orphans to sell chocolates near the Los Angeles Knights Stadium, but at least this way the kids can watch the game on the big screen. Because the team lost, they didn't buy the chocolate well, which means they won't be allowed to watch TV now. Kelvin approached the coach to support him, and he asked why the child was working part-time at 10 p.m. The coach gave him a whole 20 for a chocolate bar, but Kelvin refused. He's not sure if the money he earns will go to an orphanage, as director Biddleman says. In this case, the kid will receive several tickets to the game for free. Adults come to the shelter to get to know the children, but Ox believes that nothing will happen to him if he has a desk. Future parents only need babies. Sister Teresa brought a box of things that had been donated to the shelter, and old sneakers fell out of it. Kelvin immediately tried them on, and the sneakers turned out to be just the right size for him. They used to belong to some famous basketball player. Kelvin saw the initials MJ. Did Michael Jordan wear them himself? Ox immediately took the sneakers and threw them on the power line. According to him, the shoes could not belong to Jordan. They're bringing some shit here. Kelvin can't sleep at night. He needs those sneakers. Murphy and Reggie had to go out with him into the rain. Kelvin hopes to get to the sneakers by climbing a tree. Standing on the very edge of the branch, he clung to them, and then lightning struck the pillar. A current ran through the sneakers and seemed to charge them. Ox saw that Kelvin had taken out the tickets for the game from somewhere and threatened to hand them over to Mr. Biddleman. But there were a lot of tickets, and the bully was bribed. The Knights lose by a 12-point margin. The club has financial problems, and to attract more viewers, the best player on the team, Tracy Reynolds, must participate in the lottery during the break. The lucky one will get the opportunity to play one-on-one with him. Of course, it turned out to be our young hero. Ox tried to take away the winning ticket, but Kelvin outsmarted him and went out onto the playground to the applause. The guy took the microphone and amused the audience. Manager Frank asks Tracy to let the boy throw at least one ball into the ring. "I want to be like Mike," Kelvin says, lacing up his sneakers. Kelvin has a minute. He threw the ball, and Tracy is no longer going to give up and let the opponent near the ring. Then Kelvin throws a three-pointer. The professional becomes enraged, and the next moment, the boy literally flew up to the ring and hung on to it. The entire basketball arena fell into silence and then burst into applause. The Beetleman was engrossed in playing chess and couldn't see anything. Instead, Frank approached him to arrange for Kelvin to play for the Knights. The coach doesn't understand what all this is about, how this meter with a cap will help the team. The manager believes that such a move will attract the attention of the audience and offers the Beetleman $5,000 for a one-day contract. However, I had to pay another couple thousand for the pride to agree. Kelvin is still under the impression of what happened. Together with his friends, he comes to the conclusion that he did it thanks to the magic sneakers. The conversation of the three was overheard by Oxus. Kelvin came to the Knights' locker room. The boy apologized to the star and received his uniform kit, including sneakers. Kelvin guessed that he was only here to advertise. No one cares how he plays. This should only arouse the interest of the audience. Commentators are trying to figure out what the Knights are up to. Kelvin is still sitting on the bench. The Knights, as usual, are losing. During the break, the guy gives advice to the team, and the coach admitted that they are quite savvy. Tracy is mad at the upstart, and the coach has also replaced one player with Kelvin, except his sneakers aren't the right ones. The guy reluctantly entered the court and refused to play with the ball. He asked for a timeout again, ostensibly wanting to take a leak. Kelvin rushed to the locker room to change his shoes. He returned much more confident in his abilities and immediately began to achieve results. The difference in the score is narrowing, and Kelvin is flying around the ring like his Michael Jordan airship. It was Kelvin who earned the last winning points. In total, the undersized prodigy brought the team 27 points per game, and the contract was immediately signed. Kelvin is going to an away game, and the Beetleman notifies him that under the terms of the contract, he is the boy's guardian, and while he is playing for the Knights, no one will be able to adopt him. On the plane, the coach insists that Tracy share a room with the child, so it will be easier for them to find a common language during the game. A hyperactive boy is chasing an NBA star and driving him crazy. Before leaving, Tracy suggests Kelvin order room service, and when the orphan found out that it was all free, he ordered much more than he could handle. Tracy returned to the room with the girl, but she was more worried about Kelvin's well-being and paid attention to him all evening. The kid apologizes for taking the girl away from the neighbor. Kelvin made Tracy pray with him, otherwise he wouldn't have fallen asleep. It turned out that they both have no parents. Because Kelvin snored all night, Tracy didn't get enough sleep. The guy also gave away his neighbor, saying that they had been out all night before the game and returned to the room only at 1:30 in the morning. With Kelvin joining the Knights, things improved, the players became closer, and the boy became the face of the Los Angeles Knights. Thanks to his sneakers, he beats all the giants from the NBA, although at first they mock him. With the money he earned, he bought and presented electric scooters to the children at the shelter, and basketball stars are already signing autographs for him. However, the team's exit may be delayed due to unfulfilled homework. At night, Kelvin tells Murph how great it is to be famous and how many privileges he gets now. Even now, he sleeps in his sneakers, and the envious oxen wanted to take them away again. Bitterman has strayed from the baby. He needs to protect the golden-laying hen. Tracy went to the pharmacy to get allergy medicine and sleeping pills and refused to take the child with him. Another player says that Tracy behaves this way with everyone, even with her own family. It turns out that he still has a father, he just doesn't communicate with him. Kelvin got into Tracy's car and started talking about his dad, how he would give anything to have a dad. At the pharmacy, the pharmacist started flirting with a basketball player. Tracy became engrossed in the conversation and took sleeping pills instead of allergy medication. He lost consciousness right at the wheel, and he needs to get back to the hotel before 12 o'clock. Otherwise, Tracy will be suspended from the game. The kid pierced his ass and got behind the wheel himself. Miraculously surviving, he managed to arrive on time. In the morning, Tracy found out that Kelvin had been suspended from the game because of his antics. The pro realized that the guy had saved him, and on the plane he thanked the young player. He helps Kelvin cope with his fear of the dark. Kelvin didn't have time to prepare for his geometry test, but a frustrated Murph came over and told him that a crowd of adults had come who wanted to adopt Kelvin. It turns out that Beetleman lied to him about the contract and forbade the adoption. The scoundrel convinces the guy that they are interested in him only because he has become famous, and also promises to find the best parents for him. Among the applicants were artists, military men, hippies, Rostamans, and other cranks. Kelvin got to Tracy's mansion and checked out how rich he was living. The guy complains that his friend was offended by him, that they sent lousy parents to him, and tomorrow he will definitely fail the test. According to Tracy, there will still be good parents. He needs to talk to a friend right now, but he will personally help him with geometry. The NBA star painted the walls of his mansion specifically for this purpose and explains the tasks using the example of various game schemes familiar to Kelvin. The study ended with mutual dousing with paint. Murph just arrived in a taxi. Can you imagine a taxi costs $50? Tracy, lend me 49.5. Ha! Murph also wanted to study geometry. 2 more wins and the Knights will be able to participate in the matches, and Kelvin just won one of them. If everything works out, the team will receive bonuses and advertising contracts. Murph says Kelvin doesn't need parents, let Tracy adopt him. But the guy wanted to solve the problem with his older friend's father first, and he came to Tracy's house with his father. However, the basketball player only got angry at him and chased him away. Due to the absence of the main stars on the field, the Knights lost the next game to the outsiders. They had their last chance against the Raptors. It seems that a suitable family has finally been found to adopt Kelvin, who also lives in a neighborhood for the wealthy. The Beetleman tensed up. He asks Ox about the sneakers. In fact, it's all about them. Murph called Kelvin and told him that his sneakers were now in the Beetleman's safe. The boy himself was sure that they were in his bag. Kelvin had to hijack a transport and urgently return to the shelter. The game started without him. Kelvin persuaded the children to attack the Beetleman together and tie him up. Now you need to get the combination from the safe out of it. Ox came over. Beetleman asked him to help free himself. But Kelvin reminds Oxus that he is one of them, not a sixth rascal. The Beetleman shouldn't have called the bully an idiot. He decided to join the other children and help them. Moreover, if Ox were an idiot, he wouldn't have peeked and memorized the combination to the safe. Kelvin got his sneakers back, and the orphans raced on scooters to the stadium. Beetleman called the bookie, and now he and his man are trying to stop the children. Suddenly, Kelvin dropped his sneakers, but Murph, who had previously lagged behind the guys, helped him out. Already at the very entrance to the stadium, Beetleman blocked Kelvin's way, and then the kid knocked out the scoundrel by launching a scooter at him. When Kelvin ran onto the court, his team was already losing by 21 points. The audience reacted violently to his appearance. Tracy persuades the coach to let Kelvin play. And with the miracle boy in the team, they immediately began to close the gap on points. However, during the dump, the old magic sneakers were torn. Kelvin admits to Tracy that it's not about his talent, but solely about these sneakers. Tracy says this is not the time for jokes, and the guy has to get ready. His partner believes in him. During the timeout, Kelvin informs the players that this is his last game. He will continue to live the life of an ordinary boy. This time, Kelvin is no longer able to play in the usual way. And then he got smart. He manages to pass to Tracy, who earns the winning 2 points. The Knights are in the playoffs. Kelvin regrets that he probably won't see his friend again, and the coach is happy that his ward has finally found a family. However, Kelvin's boys did not wait in the parking lot. The boy returned to the orphanage. He admits to Oxu that the coolest thing that happened to him during this time was a free meal in the room. Suddenly, Tracy came to the shelter. The Knights team became the sponsor of this orphanage. After the game, Beetleman disappeared somewhere. They say he couldn't pay for the bet. Murph looks enviously at Tracy and Kelvin, and for good reason. The basketball player decided to adopt a boy, but Kelvin insists that Tracy adopt Murph as a bonus. Reggie soon found her own family. Thanks for watching. Friends, share your opinion in the comments about the film, and see you soon in the following videos.